Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. My name is Scott and in this episode we're looking at the top players to target in game week 30 Sun Dream Team. Now we've still got a couple of games left to go this game week. We've got Liverpool versus Sheffield United tonight and Chelsea versus Manchester United. But we're going to push ahead and start looking towards game week 30. So it's an 11:30 deadline on Saturday. You can join us for a deadline stream at 10:30 a.m. with the Dream Team Tonic. That'll be over on this page, but do go over to the Dream Team Tonic podcast and subscribe to the channel as well. First fixture of that week is going to be Crystal Palace versus Manchester United at 12:30. So we probably are going to get some leaks for that game. Makes it an exciting / stressful experience on the deadline stream. Constantly looking through Twitter to try and get some early team leaks. This week is a double game week for just the European sides. So not as much to choose from as we've had in this massive double game week this week. So European double game week, we've got City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa and West Ham all playing twice this game week. And actually, slightly boring couple of weeks potentially because we have the exact same teams double game week next week with the second leg of Champions League, Europa League Conference. So really, City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, West Ham are going to be the sensible picks to choose from because they are going to really have 4 fixtures in the next 2 weeks versus everyone else's 2. So that's probably going to be the sensible place to start. We're going to look at City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa and United, West Ham United in this episode. Then after game week 31, we have a double game week in 32, but the teams do mix up. So Arsenal, Liverpool, City all have a double game week again. And so that is probably going to be the most sensible way to go with our transfers if you're looking to maximise the fixtures. If you go for Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester City, you're going to get double game weeks in 30, 31 and 32. Whereas when it gets to 32, West Ham and Aston Villa both drop down and have a single game week. So probably Arsenal, Liverpool, City will be a little bit above in the pecking order compared to West Ham and Villa if you want to potentially pick a player and stick with them. And then when it gets to 32, so West Ham and Villa drop out of having a double game week. And then you have United and Chelsea both doubling in game week 32. They look like a good option to look at for that game week. And we've got a few extras thrown in as well. So we've got Everton with a home double. Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, not so appealing. Crystal Palace though, West Ham, Newcastle, both at home. Eze's looking pretty good. You've got Elise coming back, so it could be one to look at. But again, the big boys of Arsenal, Liverpool, City are probably going to be the place we look. You've got Wolves, Arsenal, Bournemouth, both at home. A few players like Cunha coming back into the squad. Ait Nouri's looking really good. Macy and a few more injuries return, maybe Hwang. But again, the big boys are probably going to be a bit more appealing. Sheffield United, Bournemouth, probably not as appealing. So Sheffield United have Burnley at home, Man United away, and then Bournemouth have an away double of Aston Villa and Wolves. So not as appealing on those last few, but it's interesting. Maybe United and Chelsea could be a way to go, moving off of Aston Villa and West Ham at game week start of game week 32. You could then go to United and Chelsea for their double game week because United have Coventry away, Sheffield United at home, and Chelsea have Man City away, Arsenal away. So a bit tougher, or a lot tougher in that Chelsea double game week. That United one does look pretty good. Best singles in game week 30. Now, a lot of us may have gone for Chelsea and Spurs players. I'm talking about me, so I've got Cole Palmer and Son currently in my team. If we do have other fires come up in our teams, which is looking potentially likely, Chelsea and Spurs probably do have the best single game weeks in game week 30. So Chelsea have Sheffield United away from home and Spurs have Nottingham Forest at home. Outside of those two teams, I can't really see any other single game weeks that look appealing. You've got Bournemouth facing Luton away from home, Wolves facing West Ham at home. If you've got Spurs and you've got Chelsea already, I don't think it's the end of the world to hang on for Sheffield United away and Nottingham Forest at home, but I probably wouldn't be going there if you wasn't already on those players. So let's have a quick look at these double game week fixtures for game week 30. So Manchester City have got an away double. They face Crystal Palace away and Real Madrid away. A tough away games. Crystal Palace do give City some problems, or have done in the past, but the form they're in, you still do expect City to get the win at Crystal Palace, and I wouldn't think it's too surprising to think they can get a result away at Real Madrid in that tough Champions League match. Arsenal away at Brighton and at home to Bayern Munich. I think I saw a stat that Brighton were unbeaten at home in the last 14 matches, so that is going to be a tough game. And then Bayern at home, always going to be a tough fixture, but no Bayern fans in the stadium for that match. And then Arsenal probably are going to be feeling quite confident after their decent result against Man City, and then got through the test against Luton last night. So I think on paper it looks bad, but I think Arsenal are in a good moment. Liverpool away at Manchester United, at home to Atalanta. I think out of these doubles, I think that Liverpool one is probably the most appealing at the moment. Obviously, we've got to see how they get on tonight against Sheffield United. But Man United away, Atalanta at home, maybe some rotation in that Europa League match, but I think that does look like a good double for Liverpool. I probably would have put Aston Villa as having the best double game week this week, with Brentford at home and Lille at home. But they've got some injury concerns at the minute. So Ollie Watkins obviously went off at half-time in that first match of this game week with a hamstring injury. We don't know whether or not he'll be back for next week. Then we also had Martinez drop out with illness of the squad yesterday before the Manchester City game. Another guy that we probably would have liked the look of. And despite getting a clean sheet earlier in the game week, I'm not too convinced on their defence at the minute. So I think Aston Villa are looking a lot less appealing than they started the week. Then West Ham away at Wolves, which does look a tough fixture, but Wolves aren't in the best of form at the minute. And then Bayer Leverkusen away from home. It probably doesn't get tougher than that. On a ridiculous unbeaten run this season. I think they're 13 points clear now in the Bundesliga. So that is going to be a real tough game away from home. But we're going to go through these teams one by one. I'm not going to cover the single game week teams this episode. So starting off with Manchester City. 0-0 draw against Arsenal and a 4-1 win against Aston Villa. A really convincing win yesterday, with Phil Foden scoring a hat-trick. KDB and Haaland were both rested for this Villa match. A lot of rotation actually yesterday. Had a lot of people thinking there could potentially be some upsets in that Arsenal-Luton game or in the Man City-Aston Villa game. But like I said, Villa were sort of down to the bare bones a little bit yesterday as well, so that probably did play into it. So 4-1 to Manchester City in that one. Ake picked up an injury in that Arsenal match. Walker and Ederson have been both missing from both matches this week. And then John Stones, despite being injured, he was on the bench for both games, but didn't come on in either of them. So maybe he will be back a little bit, potentially next week, maybe before that Real Madrid match. Erling Haaland, I don't think it's an injury concern. He was rested for the Villa match. He did warm up as a sub, so potential to come on. I think he must have been fine. Probably just a rest for him with a big game week coming up. Recent last results, though, for Erling Haaland have been a little bit concerning. So 3 points, 2 points, 2 points against Arsenal, and then this did not play against Aston Villa. So not great form. Not great form at all, really, but I still back him. I still think he's a potential captain for Game Week 30. I'm not ruling out going with Erling Haaland as my captain. Away at Crystal Palace, away at Real Madrid. He scored a hat-trick against Crystal Palace at home last season, and then scored 1 goal away from home against Crystal Palace. So does have a fairly decent record against them. Didn't play in the match against Crystal Palace earlier in the season. I think he was injured for that one. But I'm still not ready to mess around with Erling Haaland. At most, I might take the armband off of him, but he's certainly going to be staying in my team. Phil Foden, He was dragged off early in that Arsenal match, just the 2 points, but he has responded with his second hat-trick of the season, 25 points in this match against Aston Villa. I think I saw that he had an XG of about 0.4 and 0.5 as well, which is crazy really. Some really impressive goals in that match against Aston Villa. 21 points clear now as the top scoring player on the game with 20 goals, 11 assists and 50 bonus points. Playing in that more central position, obviously, with Kevin De Bruyne not in the team yesterday. And that is just where he thrives. Really starting to wonder whether this is his sort of statement season or statement match yesterday, proving that he has to sort of play through that middle. Obviously can play out wide and does okay, but just so impressive through the middle. We definitely have got the KDB replacement for future seasons when he finally does move on. Rodri, 13 points. I think this performance is probably going to go under the radar because of how good Phil Foden was, but 13 points for Rodri, a goal, an assist, and then 5 points against Arsenal as well, so 3 bonus points in that one. Could potentially just be a safe hold until the end of the season. With all to play for now, he is the guy that just doesn't really get rotated for Manchester City. He's got 8 goals, 11 assists for the season, which is right up there competing with some of the more attacking midfielders. So really impressive from Rodri. 4th highest scoring player at Manchester City behind Foden, Haaland and Julian Alvarez. KDB, like I said, was rested for that Villa match. Just the 4 points against Arsenal. I don't think he's had a great week, to be honest. I'm slightly more put off bringing him back into my team because I feel like I'd want to go for someone that I know is going to start 2 matches and get near enough 290 minutes. And just Kevin De Bruyne isn't that at a minute. He has been ridiculously good all season. He's big game Kev. He can smash us if we don't have him. But I do think there are a lot of good options in those midfield positions at the minute. So currently I'm leaning towards going for someone that will get 290s over Kevin De Bruyne, but it can always backfire. I was having a little look and he occasionally gets back-to-back 90 minutes, but never more than that. I don't think he's had 3 lots of 90 minutes in a row since coming back from injury. And it's looking more likely that he is going to sort of play or start 1 game a week rather than 2. So maybe we expect to see him. Actually, in gameweek 30, I think he probably will get a start against Crystal Palace, maybe an early sub, and then a start against Real Madrid. But then I wouldn't be surprised to see him rested for that Luton match ahead of Real Madrid again. And then depending on how that goes, we've got gameweek 32. It's an FA Cup game against Chelsea and an away match against Brighton in the league. They can rotate in the FA Cup. We'll have to wait and see, but currently not feeling as good about Kevin De Bruyne as I was previously. Doku, Grealish, Bernardo, all great players, but I feel like when there's players like Bowen, Kudus, Luis Diaz, all playing twice a week, guaranteed, delivering, I feel like they're a higher priority than the likes of Doku, Grealish and Bernardo for me. Great players. Doku got an assist yesterday. Grealish with the 4 points, Doku with the 9, both getting 10 player performance marks and 3 bonus points each. But again, I want those guaranteed 290s at the minute. So currently Doku, Grealish, Bernardo, not really on my radar for the moment. Ortega did start both games this week. I stuck with Ederson, was hoping to have him back. He was seen in training, but obviously not quite ready to return. So Ortega started both. We haven't heard yet whether Ederson will be back next week. I'm thinking of moving on. I'm thinking of just avoiding taking the risk. But City have been pretty decent. Just conceded the 1 goal this game week against Villa. And then the clean sheet against Arsenal. But it doesn't seem worth the risk if he is potentially going to be benched again. But City defence could be interesting for this game week or future game weeks. With the injuries to Ake, Walker, and John Stones, I'm going to maybe include in there, even though he was on the bench. maybe this is making the likes of Diaz, Akanji and Vardiol more appealing. So I think Diaz, probably my favourite option. Just feels a little bit more nailed, but with Ake out, you'd have to say Vardiol looks like a solid option. Got a good return against Arsenal in that match with the bonus points. And then Vardiol yesterday, 6 points again, clean sheet. It was just one player performance marks off getting 3 bonus again. He's got the highest average points of the City defenders with 4.9. 20 bonus points. So off that left-hand side, or playing a centre-back, I think is a good option. He's going to be mostly at that left-back position because I think Diaz and Akanji will be the 2 centre-backs. And then you had Rico Lewis now playing at right-back. He came on in the Arsenal match and then he started this one. So I think I still would prefer Diaz. Just feels a little bit more nailed at centre-back. He just has a 4.3 average with 14 bonus points. So Vardiol is performing better when he plays. I just feel like Diaz is a little bit safer of a pick. On to my team, Arsenal. So a 0-0 result against City. I'm going to take that all day long. I think that's a really impressive draw against a top side. And I think it's given us the confidence we need going into this run. So 2-0 win against Luton last night. Nice professional performance, even though there was quite a bit of rotation. Saka not in the squad at all, which is concerning. He was pitching in training, so maybe it's just a rest, but I feel like if it was a rest and only a rest, he would have been on the bench. Declan Rice was also rested. Gabriel Jesus dropped out and was on the bench, unused sub. And then Gabriel Martinelli was on the bench as well, but he's still sort of coming back from injury. So a lot of rotation in the Arsenal team. You had Trossard starting, Nelson starting, Thomas Partey was back, and Smith Rowe came back with an assist. So a bit of rotation there. And then we had Kivior also dropping out of the team for Zinchenko. And then Zinchenko subbed for Tomiyasu later in the game. So Kivior may not be so safe on that left-hand side now, but I think he still will be trusted for the bigger games. So this Arsenal fixtures, Brighton away from home, and then Bayern Munich at home. Arsenal have now got the most clean sheets in the Premier League. And then this match against Bayern. So Bayern are 13 points behind in the title race now. They're not going to have any fans at the ground because they threw flares on in one of their previous matches. Pyrotechnics. So they've got no fans at the Arsenal match. So hopefully that can be an advantage. And then, like I said, Brighton, 14 games unbeaten at home. So that is going to be a tough one. I know a lot of people were concerned why Arsenal were rotating for this Luton match. But when you look at the fixtures, Brighton, Bayern, Villa, Bayern, Wolves, Chelsea. This is a really, really tough run. And I can't really see that we'll rotate very much for any of those matches. So I think that rotation was very needed in this Luton match. We'll start with Saka. So limped off in the City match. Left out of the Luton squad, but was seen in training. It's a late kickoff Saturday, so I think it's unlikely that we'll get any leaks. And I also think that Arteta is not helpful at all when it comes to press conferences. So really, I think we're going to be going into this one blind when it comes to Saka. I get the gut feeling that he will be okay. But obviously we're going to have to wait for press conferences, wait for any leaks, training pictures, all that sort of stuff. But my gut feeling is telling me that Saka probably will be okay. Arsenal defence, I'm going to start with them. So back-to-back clean sheets this game week. If you went for part of the bus and went for Arsenal defenders in it, very, very good picks this week. And they have been the best defence in the league, best defence in Europe, least goals conceded in the Premier League, least XG conceded in the Premier League, and then most clean sheets in the Premier League. 13 out of 30 matches in the Premier League they've kept clean sheets in. I also saw a crazy stat about the Arsenal defence that in 2024 they have conceded just 4 goals in the Premier League. So really, really strong defence with the Arsenal lads. Gabriel is now the highest scoring defender in the game with 201 points. We're recording this Thursday morning. Maybe it changes later on after the Liverpool match. But currently, Gabriel, highest scoring defender in the game, 201 points. He's averaging 5.2 points per game, and he's got 3 goals, 1 assist, so does carry attacking threat as well. Ben White, third highest scoring defender in the game, 197 points with a 4.9 average. He has 2 goals, 5 assists, so again, attacking threat from Ben White. And then Saliba, the third out of those 3 Arsenal options. He's the 4th highest scoring defender in the game with 187 points, 4.8 average. Slightly less attacking returns with 2 goals and 1 assist. So I think I'd probably agree with that lineup of how to rank them. If I was going to go for them, probably Gabriel and White. I don't think there's too much to split. And then Saliba as the third highest option, which is surprising because Saliba has been most of the season the highest owned Arsenal defender. But I think a lot of that was at the start of the season. Gabriel was benched, and both Gabriel and White were both a lot more expensive than Saliba, so probably what was the reason why his ownership was a bit higher. On that left-hand side, though, those three are fine, but on that left-hand side, I think I probably would just avoid that position now. So obviously, Kiwior has been brilliant. He's been starting pretty much all of the games. Zinchenko and Tomiyasu both haven't been fit recently, but Zinchenko came back in for Kiwior last night, potentially because it was more of a game where he was needed for the build-up rather than defence. I'd say, obviously, Tomiyasu and Kiwior are better defenders, but Zinchenko definitely does help on the ball. Brighton, Bayern are going to be games that we are going to need to defend more, and I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Tomiyasu start one and Kiwior start one, opposed to Zinchenko. I think we might end up using Zinchenko depending on the game state or depending on the opposition. But Kiwior's still okay. I just don't think he's safe for 2. Raya, joint second highest scoring goalkeeper in the game with a 4.7 average. I like him now as a set and forget. Hard fixtures here: Brighton, Bayern, Villa, Bayern, Wolves, Chelsea. But we saw what Arsenal did against Manchester City. I wouldn't be surprised to see Arsenal try and play that way against Bayern. Maybe in the Bayern away match, not so much the home match. And you can see us doing it again, sort of against teams like Villa, Brighton. Obviously trying to be a bit more attacking because they're not as dangerous as City. But you can see that when it comes to it, Arsenal can shut up shop. So I think that Raya is a good choice at the back, maybe as a set and forget keeper now for the rest of the season. When it comes to attacking players, though, I'm not feeling so good about Arsenal. Obviously, Saka, I'm probably going to keep him in unless we hear that he's ruled out. But would I, if he is injured, go out and just buy a Arsenal attacker as a replacement? Again, I'm not feeling so sure. So Ødegaard did get a goal against Luton, 4 points against City, 10 goals, 9 assists for the season. So almost in double figures for both goals and assists. He's the second best attacking option at Arsenal, I'd say, if Saka is out. But I'm not fully convinced that I would bring in an Ødegaard over a Luis Diaz, Bowen, Kudus, even a Rodri. So, yeah, obviously love him as a player, but currently I don't feel so hot on bringing another Arsenal attacker into the mix. If you're enjoying the video so far, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Do leave us a review or leave a like on Spotify or podcast platforms if you're listening there as well. And hit the notification bell if you want to get kept up to date with when we go live for these Dream Team deadline streams. Like I said, it'll be 10:30 a.m. on Saturday with the Dream Team Tonic podcast. We'll be going live, answering your questions over on YouTube. And do check out the latest episode of the Dream Team Tonic podcast. That is out now. I'll put a link in the description below for that one. We've got a great Discord/Patreon community with a load of engaged managers, quite a lot of them in the top 100 now. Really, really strong managers in that group. We've got exclusive articles, and our podcasts go out live to our Patreon members first. We answer all of the questions on the episode, and then that goes out a couple days later to everyone else. So do check that out, link in the description below. And when the Euros comes around, we do mini leagues throughout the season. Obviously, you're kind of too late for the mini leagues in the normal Dream Team season, but we will be doing loads of Euros Dream Team content over the summer as well. So do check that out, link in the description below. On to Liverpool. So, as I said, I'm recording this on Thursday morning. So, Liverpool haven't played their second fixture against Sheffield United at home. This is going to hopefully be a big win for Liverpool. It feels horrible saying that because I'd prefer them not to win in the title race. But I've got a few Liverpool players in my team. So, win-win, I guess. If the Liverpool players do well, I'll be happy for my dream team, but if they don't do so well, I'll be happy for Arsenal. Sheffield United still to play, so 2-1 win against Brighton in the last match, but they still do have a few injury issues. So Alisson's out, Trent Alexander-Arnold's out, and Jota's out, but they are due back in training next week. There was a quote from Trent after or before that Brighton match. He said, I think a couple of weeks if everything keeps going well and there's no setbacks. So I don't think it sounds like Trent is going to be available for next week. Initially, we were looking at that Man United match, thinking we might get Trent back. But from what he says, I think it's probably safe to say that Bradley is still an okay pick for game week 30. Man United, I expect that they're probably going to go full strength for that one. Atalanta at home. They do seem to rotate quite a lot in the Europa League, but it is getting near to the final or approaching the final gradually, and they might start to take it a little bit more seriously. But with the title race fully on, and Liverpool probably leading the way, I do think they are going to prioritise the league. So could potentially be a little bit of rotation. They've got United, Atalanta, Crystal Palace at home in game week 31, and then Atalanta away in 31. Game week 32, Fulham away from home, and then Everton away from home. So, unfortunately, it's looking like Liverpool probably do have the best run of fixtures from now until towards the end of the season. Mohamed Salah set records in that Brighton game. Most shots on goal with 12. And touches in the opposition box 22 in a Premier League match this season. And that was his most in a Premier League match as well. So unlucky probably just to get the one goal. 11 points, 4 shots on target. Could have had an assist also. And Luis Diaz's second goal was narrowly ruled out for offside, which would have been a nice assist for Salah as well. So if you're a non-Salah captaincy or a non-Salah owner at this point, you probably did get away with it in this first match. But Sheffield United at home this evening is going to be a hide behind the sofa job, I think. He is my captain this week, so expecting big things from Salah. Another potential captain, I think, in game week 30. I said I'd be considering Haaland, but it's going to be very close between him and Salah, I think. Man United away from home. Salah does have a very good record against Man United. And then Atalanta at home. He has started some of these Europa League matches. That surprise inclusion for Sparta Prague led to a lot of points for Salah. It could happen again in this Atalanta first leg at home. Maybe they try and get the first leg done and dusted at home, and then they can rotate in that second one. So Salah, still a great pick this week. Potential captaincy pick for game week 30. Let me know if you're considering going for Salah as your captain, or if you're not, let me know who you're currently considering. Luis Diaz. We need to speak about this guy because he is on fire at the minute. So 12th goal of the season in that Brighton match. 6 assists for the season as well. So great form, great season. 11 points in that last one. He got 7 points against Man United. And on the screen, I've got the FF stuff graphic on the screen. You can have a look at all the players like this. You can search for a certain player, look at minutes played, goals scored, bonus points. This is just his points for the last few game weeks. And as you can see, multiple 10-point plus performances from him. 11 points against Brighton, 7 points against Man United. He had a 10-pointer against Sparta Prague in the first leg. 14 points against Luton. 12 points against Burnley. He really is in decent form. And he's only been benched for 2 of the last 10 matches, playing 80 plus minutes in all but one of these matches. So I think it's safe to say that he's good for this run. Does get the odd benching, but I think he's pretty much as nailed as it comes for Liverpool at the moment. So I think he's a really, really good pick for this game week. If you want to go a little bit different and get that second attacker in there for Liverpool, Darwin Núñez is obviously another great option. Waiting to see whether he starts this game tonight, because he can get the odd bit of rotation. Having a really, really good season himself. Currently, Darwin Núñez, when it comes to strikers, is the third highest scoring striker in the game with 251 points. And goals, 17, assists, 17. So, a really, really good pick, Darwin Núñez. Maybe a little bit of rotation here and there, but overall, he gets a lot of games. Gets a lot of shots on target as well. I think he was leading the way for shots on target. Currently, just behind Erling Haaland with 60. 60 shots on target from 43 matches. So, with these points for shots on target, Darwin Núñez does look like a good option as well. I'm just weighing up whether I want Darwin Núñez or Diaz potentially as my second Liverpool attacking option. Let me know again in the comments below if you think Diaz or Darwin Núñez will be a better pick for game week 30. I feel like I'm currently leaning towards Luis Diaz at the moment. I feel like he's just a little bit more in form, but again, Darwin is a really, really good pick. Conor Bradley, 8 points against Brighton, 3 bonus points, 6 tackles. If you included him in your part of the bus team, you would have been pleased with that result. Even though they didn't keep the clean sheet, there was an early goal from Danny Welbeck that wiped that out. He was all action in this Brighton game. 5.6 average, 1 goal, 7 assists for the season. That puts him as the third highest for average points out of defenders this season. Only Trent and Porro have higher average points than Conor Bradley. And he's only had 2 benchings in his last 10 matches as well. And both of those matches, he came on at half time. So it's not even like if he's benched, he doesn't get on. He came on at half time in both of his 2 benchings. I do think Virgil van Dijk is the safer long-term play. Does seem to play the majority of all games. 5th highest scoring defender on the game, Virgil van Dijk. But I just think Conor Bradley is a little bit more exciting. Eventually, it could cause you a problem when Trent comes back. But I think you just worry about that when it happens. Last person to mention, McAllister. He's hit double figures in 3 of his last 4 matches now. Attacking returns in each of his last 5 matches. 3 goals, 3 assists in those 5 games. And then 5 goals, 7 assists for the season. So, again, really, really impressive from McAllister. Potentially could be your extra Liverpool inclusion if you didn't want to go for Diaz or Darwin. Or if you wanted to go for free, Salah, Diaz, McAllister potentially. Could work out as well. I think it would be a differential opposed to Diaz and Darwin. On to West Ham. 1-1 draw against Spurs. And then that 4-3 loss against Newcastle. What a ridiculous game of football that was. But good for Bowen and Kudus owners. Wolves is the first match of game week 30 away from home. They only have 1 win in their last 5, Wolves, losing 3 of them. So great side, but a little bit out of form. That one looks okay with West Ham's current form. But that Bayer Leverkusen match, they're unbeaten all season, unbeaten in 40 matches, all competitions. So that is going to be a really tough test away from home. But West Ham are a decent counter-attacking side. So even if they don't get the result, maybe they can still get some attacking returns for Kudus and Bowen, the 2 popular West Ham picks. Fixtures outside of Europe do look okay as well. Fulham at home. Obviously, Fulham have been really, really good when they're playing at home, but really quite poor when they're playing away. So that Fulham game could be okay, but it is right before the second leg against Leverkusen. So maybe there's a bit of rotation there potentially. But David Moyes doesn't seem to do that often. And in game week 32, that's that week I spoke about. Just a single game week against Crystal Palace away from home. That could potentially be the point where we might want to move off our West Ham players, maybe onto a Man United doubler or Chelsea doubler potentially if we come off Palmer, for example, want to go back there. No clean sheets in their last 5 matches for Wolves, so I still am fancying these West Ham attackers. Kudus is third highest for bonus points in the game, 51 from 36 matches. Back-to-back 3 bonus points this week, so again, doing it consistently. Graphic on the screen again from FF Stuff, 6 points in the last game, 16 points against Newcastle. He was just ridiculous, completing so many dribbles, constantly getting fouled, all the things that get you bonus points. 22 points for the game week. Got the goal and an assist against Newcastle. He's got 6.6 average, which is close to putting him in top 10 players in the game when it comes to average points. When you take out the odd player that's played 3 or 4 matches and ended up with a really high average points. When you take out those guys, Kudus is right up there. 12 goals, 7 assists for the season. And then Bowen. It's pretty obvious. These two are the guys to look at. 19 goals, 9 assists for Bowen. Taking really, really great right-sided corners. One led to the Zuma goal in that Spurs match, or an assist for Bowen in that one. And then he got a goal and an assist against Newcastle. Incredible form. I'm still tempted by the double-up, the West Ham double-up, despite those tough Bayern matches. I just think they do well in these counter-attacking matches, and there could be potential that they do get at by Leverkusen. Kudus and Bowen are the sort of players that still can pick up points in matches where they don't end up winning. So, yeah, I still really like both of these as picks. Aston Villa, if you didn't figure it out at the start, I really have sort of gone off their players for this game week. Game week 30, Brentford at home, Lille at home. I think even if Ollie Watkins, they did say that he was fit for this game or fit for the Lille game, I feel like I would just maybe avoid now at this point. It was a hamstring injury. We've seen these hamstring injuries come back when they're rushed back. We saw it with Salah earlier in the season. I think I probably still would avoid even if we heard that he was okay. Did look like potential great fixtures for him, but yeah, it's not looking good. So unless we have confirmation that he's available for 30, I can't imagine many people are going to go there, and I imagine most people are going to probably sell him. Emi Martinez, I mentioned he got the clean sheet against Wolves in that 2-0 win. Konsa actually also did really well in that game. So I think it was 16 points he came away with. Just double check that. Yeah, 16 points, finished up on 18 for the game week after this City game. So Konsa has done well as well. But I just feel like there's better options. I think you'd rather go for a Liverpool, City and Arsenal defence at the minute, and you know that you can keep them all the way through to game week 32. Whereas in game week 32, Villa then drop down and have just a single game week. And it depends whether or not they get through in the Europa League conference, whether they'll have future European fixtures. So currently not feeling so great about Aston Villa. Nothing really else is standing out to me as being appealing. You had Diaby, 4 points against City, 10 points with a goal and an assist against Wolves, but there's just so many better options in midfield and attack. So going to move swiftly on from Aston Villa. Right, I'm going to quickly go through my team update, but this is so far, like I said, filming on Thursday, so I'm on 133 points for the game week, so a massive score, but Foden does take up a big chunk of that. But it's a green arrow so far this week, up to 266. So decent start really. I was expecting a massive red arrow with part of the bus, but we're not through it yet. Liverpool still to play. Very popular defenders in the game. So if there's a clean sheet there for Liverpool, I think it still could be quite a damaging game week, but I cannot complain with how it's gone so far. Ederson, benched, didn't play either matches with that injury. I've got Virgil and Connor Bradley still to play. Bradley got 8, Virgil got 1. Gabriel absolutely brilliant. So glad that I kept hold of him. 16 points, 2 clean sheets. Saka played that City match, was disappointing, just the 4 points, and then left out the squad. So Saka, disappointing hold for this week. Foden, ridiculous hat-trick yesterday. 27 points, his second hat-trick of the season. He's been incredible. Highest scoring player on the game. Kudus, 22 points. Really pleased with that transfer in a couple of weeks ago. He's been really, really good for me this season, or since having him. And then Palmer, 18 points. He does play Manchester United again this evening, so potential for even more from Cole Palmer. Son, 13 points. I brought Son in for Ollie Watkins. Got a little bit lucky with Ollie Watkins getting injured, but I will take those 13 points. Could do with a little bit of luck. Haaland, 2. Again, like I said, disappointing. But I'm still not ready to mess about taking him out. At most, I'll just move on the armband, like I did this week with Salah. 22 points so far with the armband on, and Sheffield United at home still to play. I'll do a separate short video tomorrow with my team update, or this evening with my team update, and then I'll at least have a little bit of context with what happens in that Liverpool game. I'll do my rough transfer plans and thoughts on my team. Really, really short video. Keep an eye out for that one. And then we'll have our deadline stream on Saturday. So hope to see you all on then. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Turn the notification bell on. You'll get notified when we go live. And then head over to the Dream Team Tonic podcast and watch our latest episode over there. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.